Hi guys, how you doing? It's Fiona. Got to figure out a way where, I do these in my kitchen and you don't have to see so much of me, but you get a better backdrop. But if I start getting all perfect, this doesn't get done, as you can see. So I'm just going to chitter chatter for a moment to let y'all get there. If y'all are on Facebook on Saturday morning or whenever you happen to watch this. So here is what I'm thinking. We're living in probably the biggest, well, there's no probably, we're living in the biggest crisis of our lifetime, You and I have that in common. And it got me thinking that some people will thrive in these times. Lovely to see you. Some people are going to thrive in these times. I mean, they are. I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that they are, selling chocolate and stockings like in the war or something, like the black market, like they're opportunists. I don't mean that at all. But also some people are going to go out of business. And that is tragic. Because we all know that, there are certain huge global businesses who are doing extraordinarily well at these times, while smaller businesses, people like you and me, are going out of business. Here is the thing. It doesn't have to be that way. You can thrive in these tough times. And I want to help you do that. And I'm going to show you why I know what I'm talking about. Because if I'm going to ask you to take my advice, I need to show you why I know what I know and why you might want to consider my advice. I don't want to come on here and just spout grand ideas. So here's what I know about having a business in a crisis. I had a business in the last crisis, 2008. And here's what I saw. I had a 6-figure business, coaching business. Now at that time, I was all over the press. I had, had newspaper columns, and I was on the TV and radio and all that stuff. Because, my first book came out in 2000, Be Your Own Life Coach, and thankfully sold really well. And it just, gave me a certain profile and a platform. So up until the 3rd week of November 2008, honestly, life was a breeze. Clients just came because I was so well known. I had a small team of coaches. My life was a breeze, honestly, so easy. Then something extraordinary happened, like overnight extraordinary, little bit like what's happened to us 18 months ago, like life changed overnight. That's what happened in the 3rd week of November 2008. Life changed overnight. Overnight, I'm sitting on my sofa doing my usual, checking my emails for all those lovely people who want our coaching services. And guess what? Not a single email, nothing. I got in touch with my website lady and I said, hey, Shanda, do you think the website's down? Like there's no emails? Something's happened. She said, no, the website's fine. There's just no emails. Here's what happened. Business fell away overnight. No new inquiries. People didn't want what I was offering. Suddenly, like overnight. Because here's what happens when people get scared. People shut down. They contract. They're anxious. They're fearful. They can't see a way through. There's no good news. There's no light. And they just pull the shutters down. I mean, that's what fear does. That's how potent an emotion fear is. And that's what happened. And people got scared to spend money. It was called the credit crunch. Remember those days? You're probably far too young. But it was the great credit crunch of 2008, when suddenly overnight access to credit was just pulled. The value of people's houses gone. Some people were living in houses that weren't worth what they had paid for them. They were in negative equity. Some people just handed the keys into the bank on their houses. I knew people like that in Ireland, in the south of Ireland. So it was a crisis. It was a crisis. And it was a huge shock for me. So I saw that people, they didn't want what I was offering. First of all, that was a huge realization. People did not want what I was offering because it was not deemed important enough to help them in that particular moment and time of crisis. That's a huge takeaway. It's what I'm talking to you about today. Because at that time, there were a lot of coaches who went back to their previous corporate careers. A lot kept on trying to offer the same stuff, even though nobody was buying. Hello. Take on board the feedback. Take on board the feedback. Very important. Very important. Don't keep trying to sell the same stuff if people aren't buying. It's the definition of madness. You keep doing the same thing and hoping you'll get a different result. It's the definition of madness. Now tell me if this is making sense to you guys. Give me a yes in the thread there. And by the way, stay on here because I've got something I'm going to offer you in a couple of minutes. But I really want to reiterate this to you. Crisis. And the fact that it's a time of great need. It's a time of great need for the people that you serve. I'm speaking obviously to entrepreneurs here. If you're in business, coach, consultant, you have a service-based business in particular. That's really who I'm talking to here. So people are not going to buy or spend money on what does not feel really crucial in a time of crisis. So what I saw was that people were not willing to spend money on general life coaching, feel good, woohoo, confidence, self-belief, woohoo, make your dreams come true. All the lovely stuff that I was offering and selling in abundance, up until the third week of November 2008. So I've had an experience that possibly not a lot of coaches have had of having a thriving business and then gone, literally overnight, gone. Yes, we still had our existing clients, but there was no more coming on board. And if there's no cash flow in a business, as you well know, you're in trouble. So I spent about, 3 months trying to figure out. Actually, it wasn't that long, truthfully. It was about 6 weeks because there was a huge urgency for me to figure this out because guess what? I didn't have a corporate career to go back to. You see, all I had done in terms of a proper job before had been a waitress in a cocktail bar. I had a great time and I loved it. But you know what I mean? I didn't really see that I could go back there. So I just had to figure this out. There was just no plan B. And when I did figure it out, and by the way, I want to be honest with you, I had to leave our family home. I just didn't have the funds to keep paying for a big lifestyle, and I have not been a great saver. I mean, honestly, in all honesty, if anybody can make a business work, if I can make a business work, anyone can, because I have not been the best saver or planner or anything. I really haven't. But here's what I know about. I know about how to be humble and look at what people actually need. And the biggest mistake I see people making is still trying to offer people stuff that they clearly do not value. It's not a priority. They can get by without it. So here's my point. Once I figured out what my people were willing to pay for, what my people saw as a problem, I started to make money again. Clients started to come. I was back in business, thank God, quite frankly, because it was literally at a point of putting food on the table and paying rent, because I'd had to leave our family home. I couldn't pay the mortgage, and I rented it out, thankfully, and covered the mortgage in that way, but I had to move somewhere much smaller to try and regroup and get things back on track again. So I don't want to give you a ton of stuff in this video, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to commit to making September all about you getting back to business. All of us getting back to business, better than before, if you like. So I'm committing that 6 days a week, I'm going to come on here. I'm going to try and do 10 o'clock every weekday. And also this coming Tuesday at 5 o'clock, I usually do a coffee with Fiona. And I usually do it on Zoom. I think what I'm going to do is actually do it on Facebook, so I get to reach more of you. And I'm going to do, I'm probably going to do a 90-minute webinar, so to speak, a training, and share with you exactly what I did in the last crisis to turn things around quickly. And it's exactly the same in this crisis. It's exactly the same. I'm seeing exactly the same things. So my key takeaway for today is this. You must be relevant. Relevant. So if you've got a pen and paper, well, actually, put it in the chat box. Put it in the thread there. Relevant, so everybody gets to see it. You must be relevant to generate revenue. There's a way of looking at it. To actually get people's attention. You got to be relevant to help people, quite frankly, because the help that they need right now is the help that they need right now. So often I'm seeing people, some of my own clients who come to me afresh, they're trying to offer this general stuff that sounds great in good times, but we're not in those good times right now. We're in bloody tough times, quite frankly. I mean, we are. Fear's everywhere. And fear's not a good thing for people to come up with bright ideas and feel optimistic, okay? So you've got to join in. This is a very famous phrase. I'm sure you've heard many times before, but it's a good one. And it's this legendary copywriter. And he said, if you want to get people's attention, you have to join in the conversation that they are having right now. Sometimes I speak to coaches and they're lovely people, but I'm going to be honest with you. There's a little hint of arrogance because what they want to talk about is the conversation they think people should be having. They should be thinking about these things. So they are hell-bent. They cling on to these words and phrases that they think their people should be thinking about and considering. And even if I point out to them that that's not where their people are at right now, it's like, hello. They still hang on to it because it's almost like, you know, they're going to wait for people to catch up to where they're at. Hello. Whoa, I hope you got a good day job if that's the case. I spent 3 years trying to write a novel. And the good thing that came, it wasn't for me. That's for another time. But anyways, I did a ton of creative writing classes, had great mentors. You know what the most important thing I learned was? Not to be arrogant. Honestly, that's the truth. There was this famous phrase that teachers, all creative writing teachers use. Murder your little darlings. Murder your little darlings. And what they meant was, you know, you could come up, and I used to do this all the time, by the way, you could come up with these lovely flowery passages of words and writing, and you'd look at it and you just think, oh my gosh, that's so great, I love that. Oh! And then a good editor is going to come along and they're going to put a big red pen through it and go, no, no. You can't keep that, you can't have it, your reader doesn't want to read that. It slows down the story. Take it and put it somewhere else. Put it under your pillow and sleep with it at night if you like, if you love it so much. Okay, they didn't say that, I'm exaggerating slightly. But basically, you gotta keep, what they were saying is you have to keep your reader in mind. You have to keep thinking, is this working for the reader? Or is it just me being self-indulgent? Okay. So I hope this is making sense for you. I'm gonna cover a tip every day. Maybe not Sunday, but every day. So the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a link to my calendar on this thread in a moment. And I've opened up space in my calendar. I am so happy to jump on a call with you. Look at what you're doing now, give you some pointers, and actually get you a little bit of a plan. So happy to do that. Now, if that sounds amazing to you and you're like, oh my God, put a yes with a big exclamation mark, and I will make sure that you get the details in this thread. Now, here's what happened. Once I became relevant, once I figured out what people actually wanted from me and were willing to pay for, I offered a 6-month program. It was 6,000. So not cheap, you know, not cheap, but anyways, a 6K program. And in that program, I was giving people, my people, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, people in business, I was giving them, I'd figured out what they wanted. Not what they needed, by the way, what they deemed important. And I laid out what they were going to get, and people came. Now, there's other things I did as well. So it wasn't just like, you know, I came up with the idea and woohoo, there were people, you know, ringing me and forming a queue outside my front door. No, there were other things I did as well. And those things that I did as well, I'm going to share with you as well. But today, what I'm offering you is one word, relevant, relevant. So within about 6 weeks, thank God, I was back in business because I sold 20, it might have been 21, but it was a minimum of 20 of those programs at 6K. So do the math. Thank God I was back in business. And it was because I was relevant. I wasn't trying to offer people that I thought they should have. I wasn't trying to offer people stuff that they'd previously invested in. It was exactly what they wanted. And you see, that's the only time that people are going to spend money with you. Only time. Especially in a crisis. Remember, in a crisis, people get scared. They get very scared. And when people get scared, they contract. They don't feel optimistic. They don't feel positive. They may not even feel hopeful. So they're going to cling on to everything. They're going to hold on to money. They become scared to spend money, which means that you and I, if we're in business, we have to work harder. We have to work harder. I have no problem with that. No problem at all. Because if you're in business, you're here to help people. And you get to help people, especially in the tough times. And these are tough times. There's no question about it. No question about it. So it requires us to be more creative than we've ever been. Remember, I had this easy peasy life before the last crisis. I just sat on my lovely velvet sofa in Fulham in London and the business just came. Easy peasy. I grew as a person as a result of the crisis. I grew as a coach. I just grew because I was able to figure out what was important for my people. I still speak to coaches today who remember those days. Some of them came out of those days with a lot of debt. Most of them, to be honest, went back to their previous day job, went back to their previous career. I honestly don't know anybody else who's still in business today like myself, who was in business then. I literally don't know a single coach. So let me know if this is making sense to you. I want to take your questions as well. I'm so vain. I really hate putting glasses on, but I can't see your questions. That's so annoying, isn't it? Hi, Manu. Lovely to see you. Yeah. Good morning. I am great. Thanks, Willie. Lovely to see you. All the way from Bonnie, Scotland. Sandy, Elizabeth, lovely to see you. Mandy, hey, lovely to see you all. Is this making sense? What do you think is your biggest challenge right now in your business? Put it in there, because I'd love to see that, because then I get to be relevant to you. I get to be relevant to you. So this crisis is even bigger than the crisis of 2008. So if you are committed to keeping your business, getting your business to grow, then what I'm sharing with you, I promise you, is stuff that is proven to work. I'm not making it up. It's not out of a textbook. It's what has worked for me. And I'll be honest, it's what is continuing to work for me. You know, I thank God that my business has actually grown through this crisis. And that's because of everything that I want to share with you all through September, so that you get to ensure your business is thriving and growing in these times. You get to, you know, make the money that you need, and you get to serve people in the way that you want to, because I'm guessing you're here, you're in business because you want to make a difference. Anybody here want to make a difference? Please give me a yes to making a difference. Of course. And if you want to make a difference, of course, you got to be reaching people. People have got to see you as relevant. And I'll give you another example of my lovely client. Actually, I can't give you her name because I haven't asked her if I can say this. But anyway, a client who was offering a program that people just weren't snapping up. And I said, you know what I think? I think it's important to take a look at these people once more. And they were super stressed businesswomen. They were, well, they are on LinkedIn, and they want a result quickly. And I said, listen, why don't we create an intensive, a 30-day intensive? She is a hormone expert, a menopause expert. I said, let's create something that really gets these women a result in 30 days. And we looked at exactly what they wanted, and we put that in the program. And I wrote a short LinkedIn post for her, addressing those concerns, those needs and wants. And the 30-day program was intense. It was exactly the same price as the 3-month program that she had been offering, exactly the same price. But she offered it for 30 days, a 30-day intensive with these particular results, specific benefits that they would have in their hand, that they would get their hormones would begin to get reset, which would mean that they would have more energy, which would mean they would feel better in the morning, which would mean that they would begin to lose that stubborn weight gain around the middle, all those things. The brain fog, the sweats, the sleep, all of that, maybe even libido, I don't know. And people bought it. Within a couple of days, she had sold 3. Might even be more than 3, let me think about it, because it was £6,000 worth of programs, so whatever that is. But she'd sold 3 or 4 of those programs within a couple of days at $1,500, just because she was being relevant. So what do you get to do? 2 things. You get to really focus on that person that you want to help. Get really clear on that person. Let that person become your muse. Really think about them and think about what they need right now. If you're not sure, here's what you could do. Ask them. See, one of the reasons I love to talk to people is I hear what you need. I spend a lot of time talking to people, or actually listening to people, more to the point, you know. And I hear what people need, what my people need. Not everybody I speak to is my ideal client. That's okay. But I speak to enough who are my ideal clients, and I hear. They tell me what they need, what their biggest concerns are right now. And if you're willing to have those conversations, and if you're willing to listen to people and take on board what they're telling you, you're going to make money. You're going to be able to help people. You will be relevant. They will come to you and say, that's so great, I need that so much. And here's the interesting thing. When something is a priority for people, it's amazing how they find the money. Please don't think or buy into the idea that this is not a good time to be in business. That's not true at all. It's not true at all. I'm telling you now that we are busier than last year. We are busier than even last year and even the year before, for that matter. So if you were that person who is willing to be humble and not keep trying to offer people stuff that you think they should have, or wait for them to come around to your way of thinking, if you're willing to be humble and really ask people what they need from you and listen intently, really listen, get your own conversation out of the way, your own thinking, you will be fine. You will be fine. So find your muse. Who is that person that you want to help? Clear your mind. Really look intently at their situation right now. Ask them, have conversations with them. Even if it's someone, in fact, I would encourage you to have like 5 conversations. Reach out to people who you would consider as a typical ideal client, as someone that you would love to help. And ask them if they would spare you 10 minutes of their time and come up with some questions. By the way, if you would like me to help you with those particular questions, what you could ask them, just put in this thread, questions please. Because then I know what you need from me. Can you see what I just did? I just asked you, would it be helpful if I helped you with those questions so that you could reach out to people, have a conversation, not waste their time, not waste yours either, and have some specific questions that will give you valuable information, frankly, about what they need right now and what they're willing to spend money on right now. Because I'm telling you, it's amazing how people find money for what's important. And remember, we're here to be of service. We're here to make a difference. If you have a business where you're helping people to also make money, or the specific help that you're giving them could lead to them being more able to make money, that's very important. Very important, but I'm going to talk about that on another day because that's really to do with return on investment, or OI. But I don't want to get into that today. But that's very important in these times more than any other times. So, guys, is this making sense? And also, I commit to doing this. 10 o'clock. I'm going to clear my diary and make sure I do this, because I know what I tend to do is just come on here in a random way. All the hours today. Random is not ideal. So I commit to being regular. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I commit to being regular. I commit to being consistent. So you can hold me accountable for that, right? I'll take the Sabbath off maybe, Sunday. But yeah, I'm going to make a note, 10 o'clock. And the theme for September is back to business, better than before. back to business. In this crisis, in these tough times, we get to be creative. We get to be resourceful. We get to be better than before. We get to be better than before. Because life is easy when the going is good. Business is easy when the going is good. So if we can thrive in these times, we will thrive in any times. Make sense? So this is the challenge. All right, my darlings. So I'm just going to leave you with one word. Relevant. Relevant, relevant, relevant. And I am going to put a link to my diary in the thread here. So I'll be back on Monday, right? At 10 o'clock. But who knows, I might be speaking to some of you even before then. So look forward to that. All right, my darlings, have an amazing Saturday wherever you are, and speak soon and see you soon. Take care, my loves. Bye.